The whole reason you have a website for your business is, of course, to get leads. You want to have people contact you who are interested in doing business with you, or at the least are interested in learning more about your services, what you offer, what you can help with. So calls to action on your website are essential to actually doing something with your website. You want to reach a goal with it. You want to bring in a certain number of leads each month and eventually, convert those into customers also. So your calls to action are extremely important to your online presence. Most things, like social media might lead back to your website. Even sites, directory sites like Yelp and Google My Business, stuff like that. Oftentimes people will go back to your website. So your website's the ultimate method for converting people into customers or clients. So you want to make sure there's a lot of calls to action on there. And this is not a video about calls to action though. So, you want things like request a quote from me. That's the primary thing that, people would come to the website for. But oftentimes people aren't quite ready to spend their money right then, especially for a website that costs a lot of money. They're not going to just, find me and spend thousands of dollars. They're going to want to know what kind of stuff I can do and how I can actually help them. So they might look at the content and everything first. Content might be more useful to visitors at first. So you want to, people might get here from an article on the blog. They might visit the Online Presence blog and read some kind of helpful article. So this is really important because they're not going to buy. They're looking for something else at the moment, but they're still trying to solve a problem. They're still trying to grow their, visitors are still trying to grow their business. They're trying to, do research on a specific method of growing their business, and I want to help them do that. So I provide a lot of helpful content for businesses, but I don't just want those visitors to just, view an article and leave and never come back, which that will most likely happen if you don't provide a method for them to subscribe. So you want to make sure that you provide places for people to subscribe to your email list so you can keep in touch with them, keep them engaged in your business. Once they're added to your email list, you'll have regular contact with those people. You can contact them individually. You can segment them into groups, of similar interests. And then you can have direct contact with their inbox. That's great for building a relationship with clients and customers. So the way to do this is to give people a lot of options for subscribing to your email list. You don't want to be intrusive and have pop-ups everywhere and say subscribe, take up the whole screen. There's been things where I've written on website welcome mats. I actually did a video on that, so watch that. And people do that kind of stuff, but you really have to balance what helps bring in subscribers versus what is intrusive in people's surfing the internet. You don't want to annoy people and make them leave and hate your website and never even look at your content. So there's some methods that I use to help people subscribe if they want to. So on the right-hand column on every page in my blog is a subscribe form, so people can subscribe there. And you'll see this one has a search above it, but if you go into an actual blog article, on the right-hand bar there's a subscribe. So that's a good method to bring people in to subscribe. Many people use this form, but also after somebody reads the content, there's also another subscribe form. So after you're done reading it, if you liked it, then there's a convenient form. It's not in the way, it's not disturbing anybody, but it's down there. So that form's always on every blog article at the end. Some other methods, you'll notice every single form on my website has this option to opt into the email list. Very easy, convenient way to subscribe. People still have to verify their email list to make sure, they didn't check it or select it unwantingly. But notice one thing, I give the option to subscribe to the email list, but I never pre-select that for people. I don't want to force them or trick them into subscribing. If somebody's going to subscribe to my content, I want to make sure it's their decision. They were fully invested in the idea and doing it. My idea is not tricking people or to spam people. I want real content that people actually want. So every form has that, but it's not selected. And then in the footer of every page also is another option to subscribe. And some of these forms give the option, where room permits, people can subscribe to the newsletter and the blog. So there's also things like you'll notice on the contact form, there's also that option to subscribe. Every single form, people can subscribe pretty easily. And then there's, of course, the dedicated newsletter page that tells people a little bit more about the newsletter. And that gives the subscribe to the newsletter and the blog option. Okay, so on blog pages, there's there's the sidebar, there's the footer subscribe, and then you'll also notice there's this pop-up that comes up in the lower left-hand corner. It's another option to subscribe to the newsletter. This thing pops up when people have actually shown interest in the content. So scrolling down the page, those little pop-ups are helpful to remind people to subscribe. They're not too intrusive. Again, they can be closed, dismissed really easily. They're just in the lower left-hand corner. It doesn't take up a ton of screen real estate, but they can click the free download button and enter their name and email address, and you can subscribe or close it and dismiss it. So even on the blog, there's a quick link to get posts in your inbox. That leads to the subscribe form for people interested in the blog content. And then you'll notice when I scrolled up to the top about to close the tab, this is an exit intent email subscription button. If they're closing the window, they're going to leave it anyway, so it's not like they have to, if they're not interested in the content, then they're closing it or going back anyway. So this isn't going to really disturb their workflow, but it will be a nice reminder to subscribe if they haven't already. If they enjoyed the content, they forgot, or they didn't see any of the other options, this is going to pop up and call attention that they can subscribe if they want. And they just, hit the subscribe button, first name, email address, or whatever form options you ask for, and that's it. It's a simple method to get new subscribers to your email list. So all these options are really important for people that aren't ready to buy what you're selling. Maybe they're still in the early stages of their business. They're still trying to build their online presence. For me, those are, my clients would be small businesses trying to build their online presence. Maybe they're still in the early stages. They're not ready to buy anything yet, but this at least introduces them to my company and gets them helpful information that's going to help them grow and say, hey, this is a good resource to help me grow my business. And it keeps people coming back and reading more and looking at more. So this is great content. So all these reminders that they should come back and view this content and get reminders of the content keep popping up, or they're in the sidebar. They're not too intrusive in people's lives, but there's enough to give a reminder that they're there. So, and then this content is there. So make sure your website utilizes a lot of different methods of asking for people to subscribe. You don't just want to put a form at the bottom of your website and call it done. But at the same time, you want to strike a balance of not being intrusive versus not being forgotten. So you have to kind of be right in the middle. And that's the goal. So just to recap, going through this article real quick, the blog sidebar, so that's this subscribe form. You definitely want something over there. It's not very intrusive, but people still see it. End of post, That's down here. You want, at the end of reading the post, you want to give the option to subscribe to more, especially if they enjoyed it. The bottom of your website, that's this one, in the footer. Doesn't matter where they are on the website, that's always going to be there. Over the top, so that was the little box that popped up down in the lower left-hand corner. Don't go too over the top on that. Don't disturb people's entire workflow. You don't want to pop up right in the middle of the screen that makes them close it in order to finish your content. That disturbs people. So by over the top, you want to strike a balance, and that's kind of the same thing with those welcome mats. They don't strike a very good balance. They take over your screen. They're very intrusive. Check out the video on it. But anyway, those are some of the options. And then exit intent, that's a really good one too, because people are already leaving your website. You're not, or at least they're switching tabs, so you're not really disturbing their flow of reading your information. You're just kind of giving them a reminder to subscribe before they take off. So make sure you employ some of these methods, or all of them, into your website, because when people come to your website for good content, you want to try to capture those ones that are really interested and keep them as an interested party so they can keep coming back for more content. You can have a steady flow of contact with people that are interested in what you're doing. Now that you've checked out an Exprance video to help you expand your small business online presence, be sure to subscribe so you can watch more videos as they come out. Or you can check out the ebook that will help you grow your email list without even having a website in case you don't have one. Or you could check out another video.